Today we're going to discuss a bad word. And I don't mean the F word. I mean the R word. And not the pirate R, not R, but rust. There'd be rust on the Saturn. So we're going to try and patch some rust on the Saturn. I have some steel, we're going to weld it in. We're going to primer it and throw on some undercoat and see if we can stop its inevitable demise, or at least slow it down a little bit. It's the slush packs up in there in the winter time, and with the weather that's starting to come in, I need my winter beaters sooner than later. Let's get started. First thing we've got to do is knock all of this rust loose free and see what we can do about that. Then we'll grind or cut off some of it, give ourselves a nice clean area to weld to, and then we're going to make a template and we'll see if we have anything actually that we can weld to. That will be the tricky part. Let's see what we can do. Alright, so we knocked off a bunch of the loose rust. We're left with kind of just the crap that's left over. I'm going to use a cutoff wheel and try and cut some smoother edges, and then that way we have something better to get a template on. Okay, back. Right, so this might actually work a little bit better. Okay. Alright, so that would be good for right there. Run up that side, and then about there we need to make a bend, trim a little bit. Isn't that a song? Trim a little bit of your cardboard. So if I could do that, I think that'd be a pretty good patch panel. So let's go see if we can transfer that, plus add in our bends. And see what we can do. Okay, so we have our steel, 22 gauge. What I used last time was some pretty thick stuff by comparison. Compared to this, which is definitely thinner, but I think it's going to be much more malleable when it comes to trying to beat it into submission. Only thing is we're a little bit short, but I can get another little section from there and work that. So what we'll do is we'll trace our pattern onto this piece of steel here. We're going to cut it to this shape. We're going to bend it, and we're going to see if we can get it to fit up there. Ta-da! Alright, so here's our template that we were using. There's the piece of metal that we cut. So we're going to bend, because I have the bend marked right there. And, helps if I do it this way. We have the bend marked right there. So we're going to run that along. I'm going to put it in the vise. I'm going to try and bend that over and see what we can come up with. I'll be right back. Okay, with a little bit of hammer abuse, here's what we came up with. It's a little more conformed, a little rudimentary, but this stuff's a lot softer. So I'm thinking, once we get it up there, a little easier tap, tap, tap to get it into shape. So let's get under there and try. So we've made a little bit of progress, a little more boogery welds down on the bottom here, trying to make it all stick. We've gotten some welds up there and welding done up there. So I just have this last section to go, and then we're going to throw some paint on it, and this corner will be protected. At least that's my hope. I don't know. It's just so ugly, but as long as it stops the slush from going up there, I guess it's better than nothing, right? Right. I'm not happy with it, but it works better than nothing. So this is where I'm going to leave it. It's ugly, but it's covering that big gaping hole that we had. I'm going to clean this up a little bit, throw some primer on there, and then we're going to put some undercoating on, and let's see how that comes out. So our primer's dried. I did add a little piece of metal up there to protect that one area. Now we're going to apply some undercoating. So you might wonder why undercoating, but I figured there's probably little holes that, you know, didn't get done with welding. So it's not a perfect seam by any means. But this will hopefully fill in some of those seams and maybe give me a little bit more protection against the elements. At least that's my theory. Oh yeah, I'm like dripping on the ground now. Heavy. It's a heavy day. Another order of business that needs to be tended to is this. My K-member. It's crap. But I can't swap it out this year. And I don't know that it'll ever be swappable considering the rust issues with the Saturn. So I'm going to remove it and put a plate here and see if we can at least reinforce it a little bit to strengthen it, and see if we can't do that while we're under here. Let's see how that goes. So something along the lines of that. We need to make that as a template and go from there. And we're back, and we have our little piece of metal cut here. We're going to see just how well that fits. Okay, kind of think that did what I wanted. A little something better. I would have liked it to had a little better coverage here. That didn't work out the way I wanted it to exactly. I should have left it a little bigger, let it compress down. It's at least better. Okie dokie. Yeah. Totally incognito. Can't even tell. Whatever. More better than it was. So in the end, it's better than it was. By a lot. So I'm not going to complain too much. The big thing was I was able to manipulate the metal on the 22 gauge way easier than I could on the 16 gauge. The 16 gauge ended up looking great. Oops. Ends up looking pretty great, but you can see I needed lots of different pieces to put it all together because that bottom piece just kicked my butt. So I loved how easy the 22 gauge worked, but I like the strength of the 16 gauge. I guess time will tell. We'll see how things go come spring. I want to thank you for taking the time to watch. Hit that like button and subscribe, and I'll see you next time.